a global perspective so that our students can be in contact with institutions from other countries and other cultures. In a supportive and close environment, we have been developing for almost 2 decades an important process of internationalization, which has placed us among the top 40 law schools in the world and has allowed creating a critical mass of researchers inside and outside Chile. We seek to create opportunities to provide our students and alumni the possibility to approach other countries and to give them the tools to successfully study abroad. The purpose of this meeting is part of our permanent interest to promote opportunities for postgraduate studies for our students and alumni. We see an increasing interest on the part of our students to have this opportunity, and we want to give them as much information and support as possible. In particular, we want to allow them to learn about the graduate programs in law in the United States of America, especially those that are offered by the 22 American law schools visiting us today. Many of our professors have pursued postgraduate studies in the United States, and we know the level of excellence, commitment, and pioneering in advancing the study of law that you all seek to achieve. I'm sure you are eager to make the most of this activity, and therefore I will give now the floor to our distinguished visitors. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. And without further ado, now we're going to start with George Washington University.
Welcome, everybody. Dean Buksang, Mr. Huerta, my colleagues, thank you for organizing this. I will begin by discussing the English proficiency requirements. My colleagues and I are going to be addressing different facets of the LLM process. And at this point, I would like to show you some of the issues that you will be facing when you are looking at applying to an American law school. You will note that all law schools require proof of English proficiency, and anyone who has received their first law degree from an institution where English is not the medium of instruction will be required to submit either the Toefl or the Ielts score. On your screen, you will see a lot of information about the various scores and the tests that are available. Toefl and Ielts are the two most popular tests that are accepted by all of the American law schools. They're available both in internet-based and paper-based formats, and they're basically allowing us to measure your speaking, your listening, reading, and writing skills. Please note that scores that you will submit have to be good for 2 years from the date when you submitted the test. There are many other tests available as well, such as Duolingo, but I would advise you to check with the individual law school that you're applying to see which test is accepted. We also, in some cases, will consider waiver requests on a case-by-case basis. If you think you should be allowed to submit a test waiver, please submit a separate letter or speak with an admissions officer at that law school to see whether they will allow submission of a waiver. And then you will be given an opportunity to present your case. When you're applying through the various programs, you will note that we will be discussing the issue of Lsac, which is what the Law School Admission Council is the basis for where most law schools will accept applications from. Law schools only accept official score reports. So you must send your Toefl and Ielts score directly to Lsac, who will then transmit it to the individual law schools concerned. Please note that each law school has its own institution code, and you must indicate that separate code when making the request. There are many other options for English proficiency in advance to get a better handle on your English proficiency before starting your LLM program. There are many optional summer English language programs or legal English programs. These will allow you over the summer to hone your skills, whether it's in academic writing or communication, basically all the skills that you will need to transition into life at a US law school. They not only give you...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think you're not sharing your screen.
Ah, Okay, I'm sorry. Let me see. Do you see it now?
No.
Okay, I'm just going to speak because my screen somehow has frozen. I apologize for that. So
Okay.
that is not helping matters.
All right.
So I apologize. So as I was saying, that there are some programs that offer optional summer English or language programs, and these are available in the summer. Many law schools have them. There are also standalone institutions that host these summer programs, where some of them provide not only an overview of the US legal system, but they also teach you the techniques of legal research and writing. Some also add cultural and professional development activities. These programs are not only for entering LLM students. They're standalone programs. So if there are professionals who are interested in improving their English language skills, they're certainly available for them as well. Keep in mind that these English language programs do not count towards your LLM, and so these credits would not transfer. We often get asked as admissions officers, what are the tips for improving your English language proficiency in advance of starting at a US law school? And some of the tips that former students of the George Washington University have indicated to us is what has helped them in the past is to read books, to learn the US legal terminology in advance, watch movies, TV shows, listen to radio programs, join an English language group, get to know other students in your program and start speaking with them over the summer, and basically immerse yourself in English. So these are some of the tips and guidance on English proficiency requirements. My apologies again for my screen malfunction, and I look forward to talking with each of you at my individual Zoom room later on today. Thank you.
Okay, now we are going to Mary from Tulane Law School.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria Landry and I am the Director of Admission at Tulane Law School, and I am here to talk to you a little bit about research tools and how can you find, or ways to help you find, what is the best LLM for you. So there's a lot of factors to take in consideration. I am not going to talk about all of them because different people in our group and even on the other groups today will be able to talk to you at length about some of the factors that you should take into consideration. But I would tell you that most students will look into location, the programs that are offered and specialties, the cost of the program and the city that you'll be living in, whether or not the schools offer you some extracurricular activities such as journals, the possibility of participating in clinics, doing internships, etc. Also, a lot of students take into consideration the reputation of the school in the US and abroad. We'll talk a little more about that in a second. And the application, obviously the application requirements, whether or not you're eligible for the program that you're looking into. So two of what are considered to be the official online research school admission console, and what it does is if you look into being part of the credential services, you can sign up for free and you start receiving communications from all schools. So we all here from time to time will send an email about our school, what we offer, the programs that we do, and that's one way to stay informed, to get communication from schools. The other thing that Lsac does is, as you will see down there on the screen, it has a very intensive list of all the programs that it offers. So you go to choosing law school, you go to the LLM programs, and you can choose by state. You can choose in the Lsac website, you can actually put a key search term. So if you want to say corporate, you put the word corporate, and a lot of the schools that will offer programs in the field will show up. In the other official research tool. So the other official website would be the ABA, and that's the American Bar Association. And very similar to Lsac, will offer you a list of all the official schools by state, if you look on the screen, by category. So for example, for Admiralty, for Admiralty Maritime, you'll see that's Charleston, Miami, Tulane. So you can find a way. Those two websites will give you a very, very good idea of where schools are located, and best of all, you can search by your field of interest. Also keep in mind that it is important to know that, for example, if you're looking at taking a bar exam, you should be looking at ABA schools. So there are other schools out there in the US that are not ABA accredited, but you should be looking at ABA schools if you have that goal. So additional tools, there's also a lot of what we call informal websites, and so the ABA and the Lsac will provide you a list of all the schools. These additional schools, these more informal websites, a lot of them are sponsored. So that what that means is that we, the schools, will pay to have our profile there. That doesn't mean that we're paying to share any information that it's not correct. The information will be correct. It's the information from our schools. But keep in mind that you might not have all the schools listed there. Some of them don't pay to have a profile there, but they're very good sources because they have a lot of board messages, so you can talk to people about where they are in their search. A lot of times alumni will get into those board discussions and they will tell you, this is my experience on the application process. This is what was good. This is what was bad. So LLM Guide is a good example. LLM Study is a newer website, but also provides a lot of information. And then keep in mind that there's a lot of other smaller and more local websites that you can use, such as there's Keystone. There's a wide variety. So if you just put LLM on your Google search, you'll note that there's a lot of websites. So take those with a grain of salt, meaning they do not provide you all the information. And always make sure that even when you go to those websites, click on the links for the school, learn about the school through their website. And what I believe to be, it's a different world right now. Obviously, we all have, we have the limitation of not being able to travel, but hopefully the pandemic will be ending soon and we'll be able to host events on your country or be able to host you on our schools. But for now, you should absolutely make use of the huge amount of virtual events that we have, such as webinars like this one. It's a way of learning more about the schools. It's a way of meeting different schools that you've never heard about before, connecting to different schools, learn about different specialties. Also, a lot of the schools out there, Tulane included, will offer you live Q&A sessions and individual counseling meetings. What does that mean is that you go to the website and they will show you a link where you can do live Q&A sessions where a lot of people will show up and ask different questions, or you can just schedule an appointment with someone from the Office of Admission and ask questions about, my application looks like this. I have work experience. Is that good for me? I don't have any work experience. How would that work on my application? So all those more specific questions that you might have, people are online and being able to answer those. Also, a lot of schools are now starting to be able to offer virtual tours and even online classes. So you can look into the classes and participate and see what an American law school looks like, or what that school that you're thinking about attending looks like in a class setting. A little more information when it comes to the research that you'll be doing. Please keep in mind that there's no official LLM ranking. So what does this mean is we have an official ranking when it comes to US schools and US law schools, but there's no official ranking for the LLM. So there's a lot of informal lists out there, but there's nothing that is set in stone. So keep in mind that a lot of the LLM's specialty will be how you will determine the rank, what is the best fit schooling for you. and then ask questions that will establish relationships with the schools and with the people. Apply to more than one school. There's a lot of options out there. And network. Talk to people that attended school, US schools, learn more about them. And I think I'm about to run out of time. So thank you so much. Come see me in the chat to learn more about Tulane. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And now we're going to say goodbye to Dean Lsac, who has to go. So thank you very much for hosting this event. And now we should continue with Martin from MSU Dittmar School of Law. Martin.
Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be talking to you. I'm at SMU Dedman School of Law. You can see lots of happy faces at the beginning, and we have on this slide, you can see my face. I think I might look a little better there than I do in pandemic times. And Bobby Hine is our director, and we have many programs. I want you to visit with us in our chat or have an opportunity to talk with us outside of this event, but we want to spend most of our time talking about specific things to help you make decisions about where to go and why to go study in the United States. This last slide just shows you an example of sort of what they were talking about, looking at what are the opportunities that you might have other than just doing your degree. And we're in Dallas, Texas, a large city with lots and lots of corporations. So some of our international students actually do externships and work in general counsel offices. So that's something to think about. My topic really though is what kind of LLM is right for you? And then how does that affect your personal statement? Because your personal statement says so much about why you want to go to law school and what you're going to do. So let's look at this for a second. Most law schools are either going to have, or they may have a combination, a general LLM of some kind for international students, and some of them are going to have specialized LLMs. So which is right for you? I think first and foremost, to answer this, you have to answer the why question. Why do I want to study for an LLM? And if that answer is different, then what you really need to be thinking about is, where do I want to study for an LLM? And when you look at these different programs, this is going to help you focus this why question, because it's central to your personal statement. We need to understand when you're applying to us why you want to study and why you want to study with us. So if you have a general LLM, students basically are allowed to take classes from the list of courses that are available to LLMs. In many schools, that's virtually all of the courses that are also available to our JD students. Some schools may have limitations, or they may have more specialized LLM programs where you take your classes mostly with LLM. So look into that, because I think that's important. Everybody is going to require, and the bar requires, that you take a basic course in, we call it Perspectives of the American Legal System, but it's a course, an underlying course about American law. If you want to take a bar exam, say in New York or in Texas where we are, you're going to need to take a class in legal research and writing. You're going to need a class in professional responsibility. You're going to need at least 6 hours of classes that are tested on a bar exam. These include the basic courses American JD students take in their first year, like contracts and torts and property, or civil procedure, or criminal law, or constitutional law. After you take these, it's about 11 to 13 hours. And most schools are going to require about 24 hours for your degree. So you see that a little over half of your hours are kind of chosen for you if you decide you want to take a bar exam in the United States. So that's probably one of the most important first decisions you need to make. And many schools then, instead of just having a general LLM, or in addition, they will have specialized LLMs. They will allow you to take that LLM, but also look to see whether the general LLMs give you concentrations. Concentration would mean that of these extra half of your hours or so, you could specialize in particular areas, and you'd have the ability to have a specialization or a concentration, but also take all of the classes that are necessary in order to qualify for a bar exam. If you don't plan to take a bar exam, you have a lot more flexibility in choosing which classes to take in a general LLM. You can concentrate in particular areas, as I said, or you may also be able to concentrate in a specialized LLM. Look at the law schools, see what they're offering as far as specialized LLMs. Maybe they have something in environmental law, or maybe they have something in human rights. They're going to normally have specializations in areas they feel particularly strong about in terms of who their faculty are and what courses they offer and what research or other programs they might have. And some schools will offer more than one specialized LLM. They're particularly suited for students who, for work, personal interest, research, want to concentrate more narrowly to go deeply into the area of the law. But you've got to remember that if most of these programs require you to have 16 or 18 hours in the specialization, it makes it harder to do that and do a bar exam. So in that case, you may have to stay an extra semester. It may take you a little bit longer. You need to check with the school to see how they accommodate the need to do both a bar exam and to do an LLM. So now you've made your decision. Let's talk about why, what, and how questions to help you do a good personal statement. Why does it matter to us? What is this personal statement? How do I write a great one? And what are the things I should not be doing? The why question is the most important, because we need to know not only who you are, but why you're interested in us. And once you decide that, it's going to come through in that personal statement. Why does it matter? Well, schools are going to look at your law school record. They're going to look at your transcript. They're going to look at your GPA, look at your English test scores, as we said, if it's your second language. Those are critical in helping us. But at the same time, schools, we're not going to admit you if we don't think you can succeed. But if we have only so many people we can admit, the personal statement is sort of the third most important, I think, of the things that we would be looking at. And so this is why it should be very important for you. It's your chance to tell us about you and what makes you different. So what should it do? Let's start with the do not questions. Don't simply repeat what's in your resume. We already know that. We're going to review it. It's going to have a good resume with all your information. Your personal statement is a chance to tell us something about you, what makes you unique. There's no template, there's no one great one, but what you should be thinking about is, what is it important to me? Why do you want to study? And then why do you want to study at our law school? Personal statements that are really powerful sometimes talk about how you've overcome things in life, personal triumphs or struggles. Some people tell a dream about what they want to do with their degree. Sometimes they have family members who influence them, or other times they're the first one in their family to be a lawyer. Some want to have international or commercial law careers. Whatever it is, let us know. That's so important to us. It needs to be about you and your life experiences. And then you need to tell us why you want to go to law school and our law school, not just a generic personal statement that you send to everybody. Because we want to understand what is it about us also that you're interested in. And if you're having a hard time thinking what's unique about me, well, here's some questions to ask yourself. What are you passionate about? Is there a special event or something that happened in your life? When did you first decide to go to law school? What accomplishments are you most proud of and why? What is something that's not on your resume but you want us to know? Is there a person who was a big influence in your life? Somebody that you knew personally, or maybe some famous person? Where do you see yourself in your career in your future? How are you going to get there? What qualities do you have that you think make yourself a good student as well? Please do not, am I about running out of time?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna stop with one last tip, which is, in your personal statement, don't say I'm so excited about going to Tulane if you're applying to SMU. And if you're applying to Tulane, don't say you're so excited about going to SMU. You guys, we're very excited. I hope to see you in our chat room.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, now we're going. You have to
stop sharing. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sure.
There we go.
All right, now we're going to John from Boston University School of Law. Boston, are you there?
Martin, I'm still disabled here. Or sorry, Miguel.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. Okay, I can give you. You have access now. If I check it out.
It still says disabled.
You are like Boston University because I gave you privilege.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Is that okay? You see the big screen?
Sure, we'll see you fine.
Okay. All right. Well, hi, everyone. I'm John Riccardi, the Assistant Dean for Graduate International Programs at Boston University School of Law. And I'm going to take you about what you need to know about the different program designs. There's going to be overlap between what I'm going through and what Martin has just gone through, but no worries. It'll abbreviate my presentation, so to give you more time for some questions and answers. Here is an overview. I thought it would be helpful to start everybody out with kind of the big picture of things here. So the pathway to, you need an undergraduate degree, right? And then you could work for a bit. You could actually, you could major in anything you wanted, major in music, and then be a piano player for 3 or 4 years. And then you can decide to go to law school, right? Which is the first degree in law in our country. It's a 3-year program of study. And after that, right, you are eligible to take the bar in any US state if you graduate from an ABA accredited school, and thereupon receive a license to actually practice the law. So you can practice in the US here, you can practice in Boston. And one of our alums is David Kelly, who actually made these television shows. And then you could return for the second degree in law, which is the Master's of Law degree. We have a third degree in law, which is the Doctor of Juridical Science, which is generally an academic credential, primarily taken up by internationally trained attorneys. And if you ever want to teach at a US law school with a foreign degree, this is a credential that you would be looking to achieve. So overall, there are about 40,000 US JD graduates each year from our 202 ABA accredited schools. And it is important to keep in mind that by the time US students go to the JD program, they're a little bit more on the serious side. They know that they're going to be entering into the profession, okay, and it is somewhat a decision that is fairly consequential because of the commitment and the costs involved. But after you get your JD, you can do anything. You could even you could join the judiciary after a while, but you could even become president of the United States. That is Barack Obama, when he was actually a constitutional law professor after he received his JD degree. So here you are, right? You will be achieving your first degree if you haven't already. So you'll be focusing on the LLM program. All right, now out of the LLM programs in the US, there are over 200 of them offered by 130 out of the 202 law schools. And about 60% of them are internationally educated lawyers. The general design of the program, that they are 20 to 24 credits. They last 9 months, but there are variations on that. And there are an increasing number of online options. And the last point is important to note. Unlike JD programs, LLM programs are not accredited by the American Bar Association. They are acquiesced to, which means that the ABA lets them happen, okay, as long as their operation does not jeopardize the school's ability to comply with the ABA's standards for its JD program. All of which is to say there's a lot of variation and no standard set of classes that comprise the degree programs. And there are lots of different names, so you really need to take a close look at the actual content of each program you're considering, because it can kind of get confusing. So here's the way to look at it, and similar message that Martin has shared. You should start out thinking between vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream, okay? There are two main flavors. The specialized LLM degree has more focused, limited curricula. Ours, for example, we have specialized degrees in LLM in taxation, LLM in banking and financial law, LLM in IP. You study classes in those areas, okay? And your classmates could be a combination, could be exclusively LLMs, like our banking and tax program, comprised of domestic and foreign attorneys, or in some instances, a mix of JDs and LLMs. Generally speaking, because everyone's already a lawyer, pretty much in these programs, the teaching style is less Socratic, less of what you would get in a JD classroom, but lots of professional experience being brought to the classroom. And these programs may or may not lead to bar eligibility. So there are a lot of specialized degrees, a lot of flavors to choose from within this overall category. So compare that to the general LLM. And these are primarily designed for international lawyers who wants to go back, once you have a JD, back to the JD classroom for another year. This is where you'll experience the US style of teaching. If you take first year JD classes, for example, and ours is called the LLM in American Law Program, but other schools have names such as LLM in US Legal Studies. Sometimes it's just an LLM degree. Sometimes I've actually seen comparative and international law be used for this kind of program because it's comparative and international for you. As Martin said, many of these programs come with some required coursework, such as Intro to the American Legal System or a methods class. And within them, within the general programs, you often have an opportunity to either what's called concentrate in a specialized area. Sometimes they're called tracks. Okay, so as part of the degree, you can, if you take a certain number of courses in a certain area, in addition to the general LLM, you'll get another kind of a certificate of some sort, indicating that you focused your studies. These programs can, yes, certainly lead to US bar eligibility. But, so if you're operating down here in the chocolate world, you have to really appreciate that all general programs are not the same, okay? So what do? You really have to start asking some questions about yourself, all right? So truly, what are your goals and priorities? What is it that you want to learn? What skills do you want to develop? And part of that, okay, as a goal perhaps is whether you want to qualify for a bar. Okay, do you want to be able to study lots of bar tested topics, or only have flexibility to take maybe 2 classes outside of your specialized field? It depends upon the program's requirements and their flexibility on that. We get a lot of interest in students wanting to transfer to JD. And at least at our school, if they want to transfer to JD, they need to accumulate a certain number of transferable credits. How can they do that in a program? Some of our programs are more suitable for that than others. So ask about that. Ask about a policy like that. And as far as flexibility, yeah, am I done?
Time. Yeah, we're on time.
We're doing fine? Okay.
No, we're not fine. We're past the 7 minutes.
Oh, okay, okay. So here it is, and then there we go. Thank you. Okay.
All right, John, I appreciate that. And now if you
Sure.
can just return the screen so we can go with Justin from University of Chicago Law School. Thank you very much, John. Justin, are you there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miguel. Good morning, everybody from Chicago. And thank you so much for taking the time to visit us today on this Thanksgiving Eve. So it's my pleasure to be here with you. And my apologies in advance if you guys hear any screaming in the background. Being here at home with the 2 kids definitely has its challenges, but I think we'll make it through. So my portion of the talk this morning is going to focus a little bit on the importance of alumni network when you're looking at different schools, as well as different potential practice opportunities. As I think these 2 things are very intertwined, and especially the first one, the alumni network, tends to get overlooked when you're kind of sitting down and thinking about programs. You're going to look at the courses, the faculty, specializations, and those are all very, very important. But you also want to keep in mind the people you're going to be studying with and the type of network that you're going to be able to develop, because that very much can lead to the different types of practice opportunities that can come from your experience in a program. And in fact, I think it really is one of the main reasons for even thinking about an LLM program in the United States. Is the LLM programs in the US are some of the oldest in the world. They're some of the most advanced, and they really do bring in the top minds, top scholars from around the globe. So it's your opportunity to spend 9 months in a program getting to know some of the most influential individuals in legal practice and legal scholarship from around the globe. So I really want to emphasize that point when you're looking generally at programs in the United States. And that will very, very closely be tied into the practice opportunities that you are able to find either here in the United States or back home. But I want to give a big caveat as you're looking at these programs and looking at opportunities. Make sure that whatever program you choose, whatever you pursue, you're setting yourself up for success back home in Chile. It's true every year. There are some students that do find opportunities in the United States. They're able to extend their stay either for a determined period of time or indefinitely. But the vast majority of students do return home to continue their practice. So you want to make sure that it is giving you an edge back in your home country, and that you know how you're going to leverage these opportunities to continue your practice or advance your practice either back in Chile or in another country. So definitely make sure you're doing your due diligence, and kind of how you can use the alumni from the schools to give yourself the best input on this is to reach out directly to the schools. Ask them for contacts of alumni that are practicing back in your home country. Reach out to them and ask them flat out, was this opportunity worth it? Would you go back and do it again? And did it put you in a position to succeed afterwards? And that's really going to give you the view of how to use the program and what you're going to be doing in 5-10 years down the road. Because all of us, especially myself included, we're all paid by the institutions. We're the representatives of the institutions. And you want to make sure that you're getting that input and that voice from the people who have really studied the program. So it's an absolutely important and essential part of your due diligence. Now, in terms of leveraging opportunities, I think that should start before you even step foot into the program. Now, obviously, you're going to get to know the faculty, your fellow students, stakeholders, employers that are all involved with the schools, but you need to make sure that you're leveraging your network back home to help you gain opportunities while you're in Chicago, Boston, New York, New Orleans, St. Louis, wherever it may be. Because in my experience, the students that have had the most success are the ones who know how and really utilize the network that they already come into the program with. talk to your former boss, talk to the former faculty at Pontificia, who they know at either the schools or in the cities where you're going to be studying. And you'll see really quickly that that can lead to other opportunities. So you don't want to just leave your network completely behind, because they can really help push you to different opportunities when you're in your program. But when you're in the program itself, definitely make sure you're utilizing the network that is available to you. Speak to your professors outside of class hours. Make sure that you're talking to them. There's very much a culture of that in the United States, because they may know of different opportunities that you can apply for, or they may know somebody else that you can get in touch with, as well as your fellow students. These are going to be not only your friends after the program, but they're going to be a professional network that you're going to rely on for the rest of your career, because these are going to be top practitioners in absolutely every corner of the globe. And especially for those of you that want to get involved in international commercial transactions, having that network, that knowledge from individuals in a wide variety of jurisdictions really does give you a step up and a boon to your practice. The types of opportunities for those students that are looking for something in the United States, I get a lot of questions about pathways for students pursuing an LLM versus a JD. They really do put you in a different position. If your sole goal is to gain employment as a first-year associate at a law firm here in the United States, the LLM may not be for you. Hiring practices at firms here in the United States are fairly rigid. The pathway is pretty clearly cut. So the LLM may not be the pathway, and you may want to look at the JD. The LLM is much more for lateral hiring, other opportunities where you're working for a company that does business with Chile, where your language skills really do have an advantage. So definitely keep in mind the different opportunities that are available to you. And also keep in mind that you do have the opportunity to stay for 1 extra year in the United States under the optional practical training program known as OPT that's attached to your student visa. So you're not required to have sponsorship to extend your stay to pursue an internship, some kind of work opportunity, somewhere here in the United States. So that's definitely an advantage of coming here and pursuing the program. And that's it for my time. So I look forward to speaking to you all in the one-on-one session. And thank you all very much.
Thank you, Justin. Excellent timing. And now we are going to the last university in this first part of the webinar, St. Louis University School of Law with Tara Maulud.
All right.
All right.
Let me share my screen first. Oh, let's see. I don't have that option. Okay. It looks like I don't have the share screen option anymore.
All right, I'm going to give you more access, more privilege. Okay, try now.
Okay. No, it's not working.
It's strange.
Sorry about that. Technology is not always helpful. Okay. There you go. That works.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, my name is Tara Maulud. I am the Assistant Director for International Admission at St. Louis University School of Law. It's so good to be with you all today. And my colleagues talked about the process of choosing the program, applying, and some other important aspects while you're thinking about an LLM degree and studying in the US. Now, let's say you have decided and you want to study LLM degree, you've chosen the school, the city, the program, the tracks, everything. The important question is now how you're going to fund that and how much it costs you, and what are some of the opportunities for you in the US and in your home country to fund your study, your LLM study. Of course, the cost varies from a city to a city or from a law school to another. Generally, the LLM program tuition, it's anywhere between $40,000 to $55,000, $60,000 for this entire year for the 9-month study. And that's just for the tuition. Students have also some other extra expenses such as living expense, books, transportation, health insurance, and some other food, travel, entertainment, and such. So for a 1-year study, the cost will be anywhere between $60,000 to $80,000. And that number is scary for a lot of us. But here are some tips that you can use, and you can homework or find out with the law schools when you are communicating with them about the programs and about the opportunities of funding. The first thing is, of course, once you start communicating with the law school that you think you are most interested in, ask them about the grants and scholarships. Most law schools and LLM degree programs in the law schools, they have scholarship for students, and that's for international students. Some scholarship may cover 25% of the whole tuition, 35, or even 50% of the tuition. For example, our tuition is $43,000 for the program. We may cover some aspect or some percentage of that price, but it's not all the cost that you have to account for. So you have to have a backup plan. You have to have calculated your expenses and your the money that you have, the budget that you have for this study. So always check with the U.S. law school representative or the admissions about their scholarships. And a scholarship is something that is given on a merit base to the students, which is GPA, transcript, and other aspect, personal statement. We look at everything, personal statement, recommendation letters, resume, everything. And based on that, we offer the scholarship. And a grant is assistantship from sometimes comes from the government, sometimes come from the university, and there are some other times that comes from private foundations in that area or that city field of study. So that's the first thing you must ask about scholarship and grant. There are some other questions you can ask. Also, is there any financial assistance to help you that comes specifically from the law school? It may not be to a big portion of your scholarship or anything, but it might lower your cost, your total cost. Things like, for example, faculty fellow job, like a lot of law schools, they have the opportunity for students to study up to 20 hours per week and get paid for that. Some others, like we do offer like discount book club. Buying book is one of the expenses that you will have when you study LLM degree in the US. So we have secondhand book. It's a student's book club that they use the book and they don't need it anymore. They will sell it for a lower price. That's another thing that can help you. the location of the law school, and where you will be living while you are going to law school. So if you are staying in a walking distance from the law school, that also helps you lower the cost versus if you are living in another place and you need transportation to get to the law school. So these things are always good questions to ask the law school when you communicate with them. Another way is Fulbright scholarship. The Fulbright program sponsored by the US government, and it's available in, I think, 155 countries. Fulbright scholarships are very competitive. You need to plan for applying like ahead of time, a year before at least, and see if you are eligible. Once you see that you are eligible based on the qualifications they are asking for, then you have to apply in advance. And you can find information in their websites for the qualification, for deadlines, for everything, for the degrees that they are offering the scholarship. A lot of people think and ask about if there is a private loan. In the US, unfortunately, there are not a lot of banks that offer loan to international students, but there are some banks that they do offer loans or student loan to international students only if they have a relative or a friend that can be a co-signer for them. And that person who will be a co-signer for the student needs to be either a US citizen or a permanent resident. In that case, only the bank or the institute will be offering a loan to the student. One of the options also, while you are searching the possibilities and you are searching the schools and you are doing your homework about where to study, how to study, when to study, and how to cover the expenses, one of the best things you do is search the possibilities in your home country. And for that, if you do some online research, that would be great. And Education USA in your country is always a good source for that kind of questions, especially when it comes to finances, financial aid and scholarship and everything. So reach out to them, ask them about some of the opportunities that can help you fund your study in the US, or specifically the LLM study. In some other countries, there are a study abroad government and private loans. Yeah, that's another possibility you may use for your benefit if there is any in your home country.
Thank you, Tara.
There are two major.
All right, can you hear me? We are on time.
Okay. These two private scholarships are very popular, especially the first one, Row Fund. This is specifically for students or citizens from Latin America. And they offer loan up to $15,000 for students who are coming to the US to study. And foundation scholarships also, they have some category and they have some qualifications that they require. It's always a good idea to check with them and see if LLM and students from Chile might be one of the people who, or one of the categories that they are looking for. So that's all. You can reach me out, Tara Maulud, and that's my email address, or the director of the program, Ira Traco. And I'm looking forward to talk to you in a couple of minutes after this.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. All right, I only have one question for the panel, and I will ask just a couple of you if you can answer this question. I think it's a good one. It's in the chat. It says, would you recommend for those of us that want to study an LLM to go right after finishing law school here in Chile, 24, 25 years old, or after a couple of years of practicing here in Chile?
I will answer based on what we are seeing in our law school.
Okay.
We accept, like, we have students who graduated or will graduate soon, and then they are admitted based on their resume and recommendation letters from their instructors and people who worked with them, and also from, you know, based on their academic performance in the law school. So both for us, it's good. However, I should say that somebody who had some experience that for them, for the admissions committee, is a bonus. But we don't just look for the people with experience. We have admitted students right after they graduated from law school.
I add
Okay.
something to that, Miguel?
John, go ahead.
Yeah, so with particular regard to Chile, we love students from Chile because they actually gain substantial experience while they're in law school. Many of them have pursued almost full-time internships during their studies. So they actually come to the program even if they've just finished with their degrees, with a good sense of the real world and also their areas of interest. So on balance, it's always great to bring some work experience to an LLM program, but in the case of students from Chile, our experience has been they get very good practical experiences during their studies.
Right, thank you, John. All right, well, that concludes the first part of the webinar. And I appreciate all of the universities that were present in this part of the webinar. And now we're going to continue with the second part. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Claudia Carrillo. Claudia Carrillo is an Education USA advisor. She's going to be the speaker and who's going to be coordinating the next universities. And thank you very much to the 6 universities that attended the first webinar. And now we continue. And Tara, if you could make Isabel the host, it would be great because then she can give host privilege to everybody. Okay. Isabel Sepulveda. You just have to click on the 3 dots on the right hand side.
Okay, where's that?
Yes.
Thank you, Miguel. So we're waiting for Isabel. Is there? There, I see you.
Yeah, Isabel is here, and she will give the host privilege when. Tara, did you find Isabel?
Yep.
All right. Okay, Isabel, let me know if you.
No, I don't see that. Let's see.
Tara, me aparece aún como host.
Now you're a host?
No.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
No, I don't see that.
Well, for now, maybe we can introduce our next representatives. I'm very happy to announce we are going to have today Jimmy Lsac from University of Colorado Law School, Aaron Girardelli from LMU Loyola Law School in Los Angeles, Anna Shum from Florida State University College of Law, Bridget Sandusky from Suffolk University Law School, Sarah Gonzalez, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Insa Blank from Loyola University, Chicago School of Law, and Laura Cagle from University of Georgia School of Law. Welcome, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Okay, Tara, were you able to do it? Lisa, could you check again, please? Maybe.
To get the hosts back.
Okay. That was you, Isa, right?
Yes, that was me. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That wasn't what I was supposed to.
Aparece como host, Tara.
All right.
Ahora sí.
Okay, okay, now we're in control. All right, thank you very much. I'm leaving you with Claudia and Isabel, and I really appreciate all your help. And Claudia will take it from now. Thank you very much.
Okay, Miguel. Okay, so we are going to start with Jimmy Ilsang. So welcome, Jimmy. You have control, so you can share your screen to show your presentation, right?
Great.
There you
Yeah,
go. Perfect.
yeah. Just hold on 1 second.
No problem.
I just can't get to. There we go. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out. As they said, my name is Jimmy Ilsang. I'm the Director of International Programs here at the University of Colorado Law School, which is a part of the Greater University of Colorado Boulder campus. Very quickly, just so that you all know what programs we have to offer, our LLM programs include entrepreneurship and business law, intellectual property, technology, telecommunications law, natural resources, energy, and environmental law, which is quite popular for our Chilean students, international law and human rights, indigenous peoples law and policy, and then a general US law for foreign lawyers program. I've been asked to provide just a general overview of the LLM application process here in the US. At its most, sorry, I've got a small puppy below me, so if I keep looking down, I'm managing a puppy in addition to presenting to you also. At its most basic level, when we think about eligibility, we are going to be looking for most LLM programs, I should say, we'll be looking for a first degree in law. In Chile, that would be the licenciado en derecho. It is quite common for potential applicants to contact us and ask if they can apply while in the last year of their 5th year, generally, and last year of their first degree in law back in Chile. And in short, yes, you can do that. In that instance, we'd ask you to submit a updated copy of your transcripts. And if you're admitted and decide to attend, you would then be required to submit a finalized copy of your transcripts and certification of diploma and all that good stuff. In terms of the application methods, the most common one that you're going to encounter is a law school admissions council, which was more commonly referred to as Lsac. Some LLM programs may require you to apply through Lsac, and then the other method would be a direct application, and some LLM programs may allow for you to apply both via Lsac or to apply directly. On the positive side, if you intend to apply to a number of LLM programs, Lsac is quite helpful because it's efficient. Basically, the way it works is you submit all of your application materials to Lsac, so they're all located in one centralized location, and then you can use those materials to apply to any number of LLM programs. So, for example, when thinking about official transcripts, you could send one copy of your official transcripts to Lsac and then use those transcripts to apply to a number of programs. If you're applying directly to a university, however, you would have to provide individual copies of all of your application materials to each individual LLM program. On the negative side, Lsac does incur some costs. And then on the positive side, when thinking about direct applications, those are going to be marginal to virtually no costs. And I believe one of my colleagues will be talking about the Lsac process in more detail here in a little bit. Generally, the application requirements that you'll encounter when applying to an LLM program are going to be, of course, in an official application form. Official transcripts, I think the Lsac policy is that if the transcripts are not issued in English, they will want to see line by line, word for word English translations. Lsac and most universities are going to require that you submit all university transcripts. So if you've completed any university coursework outside of your legal degrees, you would be required to submit those eventually. Just to introduce a bit of nuance here at Colorado Law, we would just need your first degree in law to review for admission consideration. But if you were admitted, we would, our main campus would ask you to submit all of your university transcripts. A resume and CV, obviously. The personal statement, I have an asterisk by that because that is quite important. And one of my colleagues will be talking a little bit more about the personal statement here in a minute. Letters of recommendation at CU Boulder, we're going to require 3 letters of recommendation. Some programs may require less, some may require more. It's going to vary a little bit. So that being said, be sure and stay in good contact with your former professors, faculty members, professional colleagues so that they can write you a great letter and attest to your academic capabilities and professional competencies. English test score is going to be required. That's actually something that we're required to do per U.S. immigration law. TOEFL IBT is quite common. Ielts here at Colorado law. For full admission consideration, we would require 100. Ielts, we require 7.0. Duolingo, we just implemented last year and can be done online, is 125. You may want to touch base with the LLM programs that you have an interest in to confirm whether or not they offer conditional admission in addition to full admission consideration. For example, here at Colorado law, if you score below 100 on the TOEFL IBT or below 7.0 on the Ielts, we could still consider you for conditional admission. In that instance, we would require you to attend our legal English program, which we offer during the summer and leads right into our LLM program. Now, in terms of some factors, and this is a common question that I receive from applicants, what are we actually looking at when we review your application? Obviously, at its most basic level is the GPA. If you're concerned about our understanding of the grading systems and whatnot in your home country, don't worry. I think most of us have experience in international education and comparative legal education to understand the nuance associated with most countries' grading systems and scales. Class rank, if it's provided, that could be a factor. Professional experience, important but not important. We're definitely open to applicants with professional experience and or who are just coming out of law school. The quality of letters of recommendation, as I just mentioned, can be quite important, I think, in our application review. Generally, I think most schools are going to want to see at least one academic recommendation, basically a former professor who can attest to your academic skills and capabilities. Community service, pro bono work carries a lot of weight for us, at least, being a public law school. Your English proficiency tests may carry some weight with some people. Obviously, you have to meet certain benchmarks, and if your score isn't great on your test, don't worry. We also look at your application materials. We look at your personal statement. We may conduct an ESL-based interview. So there's a lot of opportunities, I think, to demonstrate your English proficiency. And lastly, I kind of have highlighted the personal statement aspect, because that, I think, does carry a lot of weight for a lot of programs. The personal statement gives you the opportunity to introduce yourself, to basically establish what your goals are and why you think you're a good fit for our program, and why in turn our program is a good fit for you and can enable you to achieve all the outcomes that you're hoping to achieve. That's basically all I have to present. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about the application process and Lsac here in a few minutes, but I will be available in my Zoom room in case anyone has any questions that are specific to Colorado law. And thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Now, Aaron, you're next.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today with you and talk about the personal statement. So let me just share my slides with you and we can begin our presentation. Give me 1 second. You're with me a few seconds to set up. Okay, so we should be good. Perfect. So again, it's a pleasure to be here today. We're going to focus today in this short presentation on the personal statement. What I think, and what also many of my colleagues think, is one of the most important documents in your LLM application. Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Aaron Ghirardelli. I am the Assistant Dean for Graduate Admissions at LMU Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. Loyola Law School in Los Angeles is one of the top law schools in California. We have fantastic programs for international students, including a brand new bar track program that is becoming very, very popular. It's fully tailored for international students, and it will help you maximize your chances of passing the bar exam in the US. We also have a very generous scholarship program to all students, which award up to $30,000 to our best applicants. And we have 6 other great specializations in top fields like cybersecurity and data privacy, international business law, entertainment and new media law, and many other exciting fields. So I very much look forward to meeting you later in our private Zoom room. So please join me if you want to talk more about Loyola Law School, Los Angeles. So personal statement. As I said before, it is truly one of the most important documents in your LLM application. And why is that so? Because Consider one thing, many of the law schools here today, if not all the law schools here today, receive tons of applications every year. So we get like hundreds of applications. Some schools have thousands of applications every year. And we have to go through each one of them and select the students for our programs. Many of these applications will be fairly similar. They will all have strong English proficiency, they will all have a good GPA and so on. What really makes each and every application unique is the personal statement, which is basically the letter that you use to introduce yourself to the admissions committee in a particular school. So that's truly the document that makes your application come to life. That's where you really have a chance to talk directly to the admissions committee and tell them why they should select you instead of another student. One of the recommendations that I give to all students is to avoid rushing the crafting of this document. So creating your personal statement is a process that should take some time. So don't really rush it. Don't do it in an hour. Don't do it in a day. Think carefully about what you want to share with the university. Draft your personal statement. Let it sit for some time. Review it again. Make sure that it's perfect. Only at that point, include it in your application. And there are some things that you should do with your personal statement, some other things that you should definitely not do with your personal statement. So here are some suggestions. Things to do. Tell your story. So engage the reader. Remember, people at the universities will review many, many applications every year. So make sure that you write something compelling, something that will hook them in on the first line. So it's like writing a novel, basically. So make sure it's very interesting. Also, in terms of content, think about these questions. Think about these as the topics, the areas that you need to cover in your personal statement. So first of all, why are you considering an LLM program? Why are you thinking about going to the US for 1 year and study American law, international law? Why do you think you're a good fit for the program? What are your strengths? What are the things that maybe you have done during law school or after law school that you think people at the university will find particularly interesting? Also, this is very important. Why are you choosing school A instead of school B? So for example, if you are applying to Loyola Law School in Los Angeles, why is that so? Is it because you are fascinated by a specific professor at the law school? Is it because of the programs that the law schools offer? Is it because of on-campus activities that we offer? So make sure that the school knows why you're thinking about them. And also, this is also very important. How do you see yourself in 5 years? So the idea of give yourself, and you can see also my cat is agreeing with what I'm saying. But the idea is, what's your vision? Why truly you are thinking about coming to the US, completing 1 year of LLM, and how do you think you will use this information in your professional life? What kind of leader will you be in the future? Because universities are interested in students who will be their ambassadors in the future. So that becomes very important. Things to avoid at all costs. So these are very important. Make sure to follow these. So first of all, don't repeat information that you already have in your resume. We will get your resume, so we can see where you studied, we can see what kind of experiences you had. So don't really just write down your resume. Of course, if you feel that there is something particularly strong in your resume, make sure to highlight it in your statement, but don't just do it as a way to just repeat whatever you said in the resume. Also, avoid typos at all costs. Review your personal statement 10 times, even more. Make sure truly have. Sometimes I get personal statements and I'm like to know, but I'm not UC Berkeley. Also, don't be too generic in your personal statement. That kind of goes back to what we were saying before. The personal statement is a unique opportunity for you to introduce yourself. So don't just say things like, I think it's helpful to study American law. Yeah, we know that everyone can say that, but why do you think it's helpful? Why do you think it's going to help you achieve your professional, your academic goals? Also, don't use the same personal statement for multiple schools. We can easily tell whether a personal statement is just a template that you're sending to 20 different law schools. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to start from zero for each and every law school you're applying to. You can still use the same information for your strengths and so on, but make sure that you tailor the personal statement specifically for each school. And lastly, don't write a book-long personal statement. 2 pages is fine, 3 pages, that's okay, but don't write more than that. It's not really needed. Okay, so this concludes my application. Again, this is our website, lls.edu/LLM. My name is Ron Ghirardelli, LMU Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. I will be more than happy to talk to you later in our Zoom room. So thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Aaron. That was perfect timing as well. Welcome, Anna. Were you able to share your screen?
Yes. Hold
there
on
you are.
A second.
Thank you.
All right, so this is Anna Shum from Florida State University College of Law. I am the law school registrar and director for academic programs. So before I kind of move on to my topic, which is about Lsac, I'd like to give you a brief introduction of Florida State. So Florida State University is located in Tallahassee, the capital of Florida. The law school is uniquely located right next to the Florida Supreme Court, and we're just a block away from Florida Capitol. And so Florida State is a public institution. You will probably hear a little bit more about the different programs a little later, but our program is relatively smaller than most programs. We typically recruit around like 20 students. So ours is a relatively smaller program, but we do have 3 different LLM programs. For example, the LLM in American Law for foreign lawyers, the LLM in business law, and we've recently launched an LLM in business law online. We also have an LLM in environmental law and policy program. And so moving on to Lsac. So Lsac, some of you may hear that it's LSAC. The full form is basically the Law School Admission Council. It's an organization, in short, it's an organization that basically helps the law schools process their admission applications. Just like to clarify one thing, I noticed that some students get confused when we mention Lsac and LSAT. Lsac is not LSAT. Lsac is, as I said, the organization that helps us process the admission applications, while LSAT is an exam to assess your comprehension, your reading and writing skills, similar to the GRE. And so apart from Lsac helping us process our admission applications, they also provide different types of services. And here are some of the services that I think might be beneficial to applicants. For example, they host the law school forums. The law school forum is typically in person in the US or in Canada. Because of COVID, now they're offering the law school forums virtually. In other words, you will be able to join. The upcoming law school forum, I believe, is on December 12th. So if you'd like to join, you can register. I provided the link and I can share my PowerPoint with you a little later. Under this, with the law school forum, you'll be able to interact with a lot of different schools so you can see the different options. Another thing that I think might be helpful for you is the candidate referral service. So if you're looking to have people send you the information, this might be a good option. You'll need to register for an LLM account. After you do so, you can select candidate referral service. By selecting this option, you're allowing Lsac to make your contact information available to other law schools, in which then they can send you the information about their LLM program and about their schools. The positive is that you don't have to do the research, they'll send you the information. The negative might be that you'll get a lot of emails. Another thing is the credential of simply service, which Jimmy kind of also touched upon. Basically, Lsac helps to put all your documents together and then provides a report for all the schools, which is convenient for not only the students, but also the schools. I believe my colleague will also discuss this further, so I will elaborate on this. So these are the services and programs that might be helpful, but Lsac also has some search tools, which I actually find very, very useful. So if you're trying to look for a school and you're not certain what you're trying to look for at this point, using the search tool might be very helpful for you. Once you enter their page, I've also provided the link below, you're able to select the country. They have schools from the US and also Canada. You can select US if you're interested in US schools. And they provide you a full list of all the law schools that are offered in the US. If you already know which state you're interested in, for example, Florida, you can select Florida and they will only list out the schools that are in the state of Florida. And of course, if you already know which school you're interested in, you can simply just type it in the keyword search. If you'd like to narrow down your search, what you can do is sign up for an LLM account, in which then you can select by interest and program type. So I provided different links below. So the first one is the search tool. Another thing that I think might be helpful is to look at a map where you can actually see where the school is or the state is located. For example, some students that I've talked to before have specific interests. They come from a very cold area and they want to, you know, be in a nice and sunny area, or they want to be closer to home. So they would like to know exactly what the location is and where the state is located. And so LSAC has a fantastic map that lists out all of that. Another thing that I think is particularly helpful is the types of program. I know that all of you here attending are interested in the LLM program, but I think sometimes students are confused between the LLM program, the JD program, and the Llm program, and don't know what the benefits are for each one of them. And so if you're still struggling with trying to figure out which option is the best for you, the link below provides a really good overview about each of the different programs, the benefits and the specific requirements, which I think would be helpful in making your decision. And of course, if you have any further questions about any of the things that I've discussed or about our school, feel free to reach out to me. This is my contact information and the Zoom link, so I look forward to talking to you all.
Thank you, Anna. That was perfect. Thank you so much for the information. So now it's Bridget's turn. Bridget?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here we go. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Bridget Sandusky, and I am the Assistant Dean of Graduate Law Programs at Suffolk University Law School, and we are located right in downtown Boston, Massachusetts. We offer 2 LLM programs, a general LLM and an LLM in global law and technology, which has 4 other specialization areas, as well as a 3-week intensive legal English institute. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the Lsac application process. Here, as with anything, and all of us, as many of us being lawyers, you really need to get organized and plan in advance and making sure that you're following instructions. And so first I would suggest that you will make sure that your law degree that you currently have will make you eligible to pursue an LLM degree in the United States. And Lsac has a great website that will show you for each individual country what the various universities are looking for. So you should kind of start there and make sure. Not all law schools are going to require LSAC. And so at Suffolk, we prefer students to utilize Lsac and their credential assembly service, but we don't require it. And so we will take some applications directly. A number of other law schools and LLM programs will do the same, although some will simply only take it through Lsac. So what are the various different services? It can get a little confusing and overwhelming. Here's a nice little chart. So you would start with, there's the electronic application service in which you're creating your application. And that's a one-time fee of $35. This document assembly service really allows you to submit all of your items one time. And so Lsac will gather your personal statement and your letters of recommendation, only needed to be submitted one time versus you submitting to each university, each law school, the letters of recommendation and your personal statement. It just makes it a lot easier for you in the end run. And that's a one-time fee of $50. Many of us will require you to utilize the International Transcript Authentication and Evaluation Service. So that's part of the LLM Credential Assembly Service. So they'll review and look at the transcripts from all the universities that you have attended, and they'll indicate whether or not you were above average, average, or below average in the grades that you earned in comparison to what we would be looking at in the United States, for example. And then for each law school that you're going to be submitting an application, you're going to pay $30 for each one of those reports. The last fee is a law school application fee, and that will vary from school to school, ranging from $50 to $100, but always ask about application fee waivers. In fact, I think the majority of my other colleagues here today, if you join certainly in our Suffolk Zoom room, we'll be providing application fee waivers, and my understanding is many of my other colleagues will be doing the same as well. So what are your next steps in doing this? I would read the instructions. Again, it's so important to do that. Each law school will do things maybe a little bit differently or want different items. So it's really important to do that. And then first, I would contact your educational institutions. You need to use Lsac's transcript request form. You cannot send your transcripts directly to LSAC. Your educational institutions must do that. So you need to do that whether or not you started at one school and then stopped, or you transferred to another school, or even if your school is no longer open, meaning that it's actually closed. In that case, you'd be contacting the Department of Education in your city, in your state, to secure those transcripts. So that's really important, because the credential evaluation will not commence, will not begin until Lsac has received all of your transcripts. And once that evaluation begins, it can take 2 to 3 weeks, but at busy times, it could take substantially longer than that. So again, pre-planning in advance is really important. Next, I reach out to your recommenders. I think, as some of my colleagues have referenced, different universities are going to ask for different numbers. So at Suffolk, we accept up to 4 applications. For recommendation letters. We require you to submit 2. So I think most schools will require at least 1, and it will range from school to school. So make sure you pay attention to that. And LSAC, you're submitting the names and contact information, and your recommenders can submit it electronically, or they can mail in a hard copy. And then you'll end up assigning those letters to each individual program that you are applying to. Lastly, for Toefl and Ielts test scores, you will be requesting those to be sent directly to LSAC. You are not going to be submitting those scores yourself, making sure to use the Lsac institutional code as well. And then the last thing is making sure you're choosing the LLM programs that you want to apply to. Where do you want to send your documents? And then the hard part, you're going to be waiting for decisions to hear from the various programs to which you applied. Many of us, I think, are pretty good about getting back to students using rolling admissions. So oftentimes, as soon as your application file is complete, it will go to an automatic admissions review. And at Suffolk, we try to get decisions back within a couple of weeks. Lastly, if you're having any problems with Lsac, with the application in Lsac, or any of the different services, you should contact Lsac directly. So here's their contact information, llminfo@lsac.org. And they're really terrific about getting back and very helpful. So make sure you contact them. And lastly, I hope that you will come and join me in our Suffolk Zoom room. That will be your time from 4 to 5 p.m. There's our bit.ly link, Suffolk, Chile. And if you're unable to come and see us today, you can certainly feel free to contact me directly, and you can book with me as well, a one-on-one appointment online as well. So that ends my presentation, and I'll pass it along to my colleague, Sarah.
Yes, thank you, Bridget. Sarah, welcome. So now it's your turn, and the floor is yours.
Let me make sure I'm not on mute. Thank you for the introduction. So my name is Sarah Gonzalez. I'm Director of Graduate Programs at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And so in my session, I am going to be covering a little bit more information in regards to the various types of LLM programs available to you. And so you've heard from my colleagues regarding the application process, what the steps you need to take. And so this particular session will go over what your program options are available to you. As my colleagues introduced themselves and mentioned their various types of programs, you may have heard several different types of LLM programs available. At UNLV, we have an LLM in Gaming Law and Regulation, which is the only one available in the globe. And that's an example of a specialized type of program. And so when it comes to really understanding your program options available to you, and I'm sure you've been sitting through these presentations, I'm just trying to give you a bigger picture. What we're focusing on is that second option, which is that Masters of Law program. So legal education in the US will offer that JD 3-year first degree of law that most all US domestic students will take to qualify for the bar. Most international applicants do that LLM program. And then for those that want to teach, then some people will do a JSD or SJD, which is that doctorate level program, just to kind of give you a big picture look of what the degree options are available to you. So what I'm going to focus on here is simply that second level Masters of Law or LLM degree. So for most international candidates that have a LLB in law from their home country, they will pursue an LLM in order to gain U.S. experience of new U.S. knowledge of U.S. law, or qualify for a bar exam, which my colleagues will talk about in just a moment. So with that LLM degree, it is an advanced Masters of Law program, and you will see this in a few different ways. And so some of my colleagues will have programs where it's purely a program designed for international candidates. So as you go through that LLM program, you will be in the classroom with colleagues from all over the globe. There will be some programs that will have courses that will have a mixture of both JD students and LLM students. So you're in the classroom learning not just from the faculty member, but from the perspectives and experiences of others that are also in that classroom with you. And so it breaks down to 3 different types of LLM programs. You will have a general LLM program, which a few of my colleagues have mentioned that they offer. With this general LLM program, you are simply trying to meet that 24, 28, but a certain unit requirement in order to earn that LLM degree from that particular institution. I kind of describe this degree as kind of the buffet of legal education. Oh, I would love to take that real estate class. Oh, I really also want to take bankruptcy. And that environmental law class sounds really good. It really gives you the option to be flexible in regards to what you want to get out of the program and really have control over what you're trying to learn in that US law program. The second type of law degree, and you mentioned LMU offers this, is that bar track program. This is a program designed for you to be able to take topics covered by that bar exam. Now, with that being said, most domestic students and international students will also have to register for a specific bar prep course. So you can still qualify for the bar exam if you're doing one of the other non-bar track classes, but it's a great option for those that really are focusing on sitting for that bar exam. And so you're going to go through and take your torts criminal procedure, some of these topics covered by the bar to help prepare for that exam. And the third option available to you is a specialized LLM program. This will be an LLM in environmental law, an LLM in dispute resolution, LLM in gaming law and regulation. It's a specialized area of law where you're going through a sequence of courses. Now, I always encourage applicants to take a moment to really think about what you're looking at doing 5, 10 years down the road. Are you looking at practicing in the United States? Are you looking at going back to your home country and practicing for an international law firm, or going back to your home country with a specific specialization in a particular area of law? By stopping to actually think about what you're looking at doing early on now during the application and research process, it really help you figure out which of these tracks will help you with what you're trying to accomplish. So for many people that are looking at going back and working at an international firm, many will want a specialized area of experience. So when they receive cases in a particular area of law, they have someone that can handle those cases. Many students are attracted to the idea of sitting for a bar exam in the United States. And so going through a bar track program, or even considering a JD program, which will give you 3 years of legal training, but 3 years of clerkships and experiences may be a better fit. So again, think about what you're hoping to do post your US legal study to really help you direct you whether or not you want a general bar track or a specialized program. Some examples of specialized programs will be shown on your screen. So again, you'll have specialized programs in tax, intellectual property, international law, marine law. There's a lot of variety when it comes to understanding your specialized program options. Some of these specialized programs will have a very locked course requirement where you are required to take a number of courses, which will not allow you to sit for one of the bar exams. And some of these specialized courses will give you enough elective courses that you can qualify for both. So this is, again, I'm an advocate for doing your research. Think about what you're looking at doing, where you're looking at going, so that you could better understand whether or not you're gonna be able to do a specialization while qualifying for a bar exam. My colleagues will talk about the bar exam in just a moment, but you do want to have that at the back of your mind so you can think about your options to figure out if you are going to be able to do both. And again, well, the bars are different. There are 35 bar exams, so you have plenty of choices in regards to those options. When it comes to finding what specialization would be a good fit for you, I do have another slide I'll mention. I do want to also emphasize that you will also see a couple of the law schools offer these non-law degree options. So I'd like to provide and share information on this for many of the international applicants. This will typically be a master's in jurisprudence, a master's of studies in law. These are typically for those that do not have a law background. They're great degrees for those without a law background. Maybe they work in human resources or business and want to better understand contracts, but it's not for the practice of law. It won't qualify you for a bar exam. So if you have an international law degree, stick to the LM, the JD, or the SJD program. And then a great website that I mentioned that will go through and list all the different random specializations available is actually the American Bar Association. Instead of going through one of those searches, this actually will give you a full list that you can scroll through and see all the different specializations available to you. So feel free to take a photo of this slide so you can get the link at the top. But you can go through and see each of the different law schools and what they're offering. And because they all have to go through this ABA approval process for non-JD programs. And then I will turn it over to my colleagues who will focus a little bit more on the bar exam. But if you want my direct contact information and have questions, this is my email address. And then if you want to chat further regarding my specific programs, or legal education generally, the Zoom room link is the very bottom on the right. And so once all the sessions are over, we'll be available to talk through some of those options. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah, for the information. It's great to know about all the specializations, and what you have been talking about today is very, very complete. Now let's welcome Insa.
Hey, just share the screen. There we go. Hello, I'm Insa Blanco from Loyola Law School, Chicago. And just to begin, you already had a Loyola presentation, but that was Loyola LA. Hi, Aaron. So we're two independent schools. There's another Loyola in New Orleans. So all great schools, but you need to apply individually to each of our schools. So having said that, I'm the director of the LLM program for international lawyers at Loyola Chicago. I started the program 8 years ago in 2012. And my key components or the key features of this program are academic excellence, affordability. The overall tuition for Loyola is just under $40,000 for the degree, and we consider all applicants automatically for scholarships, and our application is free. Integration and access. So you will study with the JD students. You have access to all the courses offered at Loyola. And we work a lot on integrating you into the JD and Loyola community. Diversity, small program, but students from all over the world every year. And finally, flexibility. So you can design your curriculum based on your needs and your professional and academic interests. You can even switch between our two tracks. One is in US law, the other one in international law. Which brings me to the topic of of my presentation. Should I take the bar exam? Advantages and disadvantages. So the answer to that question that all of us get a lot and answer a lot is obviously it depends. What a legal answer. So it depends on what you want to do in your career and with your education. So when I came to Chicago 25 years ago, after passing the licensing exams in Germany, I knew I would stay in Illinois and I wanted to practice there. So I knew I had to take the JD program and degree because in Illinois, you cannot take the bar exam with just the LLM unless under specific conditions. And that's what my colleague Laura is going to talk about in the last presentations. So you need to determine whether you want to stay in the US. So if that is the case, the bar exam is highly recommendable. It obviously demonstrates that you have a broad legal knowledge of all the topics that the JD students have to study as well, at least of the first year US core classes, the doctrinal classes. It communicates that you not just have an LLM degree, but you have a high level of language skills because you do need to read quickly, write quickly, and answer multiple choice questions, and there's a lot of time pressure. So this is very good to see for your employers. And it sort of serves as an objective measure of your skills because the employers don't really know how the grading system is in the law school that you attend or the performance requirements. So this is an objective measure. You pass the bar exam just like the JDs. Obviously, it allows you under specific conditions to practice law as a licensed attorney. And thus it increases your value for employers. So if you want to get a job in the United States, then this is definitely something to consider. Finally, it shows that you have the stamina and the grit to study all those subjects that you will not have studied in law school necessarily because you just don't have time. You're there only for 1 year. If you want to return home, then it really depends on your home country. And that's something that you would know better than all of us because you can talk to the attorneys at law firms in your home country or in your hometown and find out what they're looking for. In Germany, for example, many of the law firms now say we just care about the skills, not so much about the admission to the bar, because you're anyway not going to practice in the United States. In other countries, it's very important to have that on your resume. So that's something you need to find out. If you want to go into the judicial career, for example, having a bar exam probably is not so helpful. On the other hand, if you want to work in transactional practice, as many LLM students do, then it could establish credibility with US clients who see, oh, wow, he or she passed the bar exam. That's great. They know what they're talking about. So moving on to the disadvantages. It limits your curricular options because, as I like to tell my students, if you really want to take a bar exam, you should probably focus on US law. You will not be able to cover all the subjects that will be tested on the bar exam, but you should have some core subjects to get a core idea of common law or maybe constitutional law, civil procedure, some of those subjects that are always tested. But that means you cannot necessarily focus on specialized classes, such as an IP law, a health law, or whatever you want to focus on. It is a time commitment, obviously. JD students typically take the bar exam 2 months after they graduate. That's just very intensive. Most of my students study or prepare for 6 to 8 months while they perhaps work in Chicago, which they can do. All law school graduates can work with the OPT. That's a type of work visa that you would be eligible for. So you can combine that, but still it's a considerable time commitment. You will learn by heart things that you don't really need, unless you want to focus on family law or property law or criminal procedure. Those are all subjects that could be tested, but that you're not that likely to use in your professional life. Another disadvantage or consideration, let's put it that way, is the money. It's expensive. The application is expensive, and most students apply to the New York bar exam because New York has the best conditions for foreign lawyers to take a bar exam after they have an LLM degree. So the application costs money, but more expensive is the professional bar review course that Sarah already mentioned. Most JDs enroll in one of those. And you will not have studied all the subjects during your LLM, so you really have to take it, I would say. So that could be $2,000, $3,000 additional dollars. And then finally, you have to, unless you already live in New York, travel there, because most people, again, take the bar exam there and stay there in a hotel to take the bar exam. And then if you pass, you have to go back to attend the swearing in ceremony. And that's, again, additional cost. Let's face it, not everybody passes the bar exam, particularly for foreign students. It's difficult, as I mentioned, the speed and the lack of having studied all the courses in law school contribute. At Loyola, we're actually quite happy that many of our LLM students pass the bar exam. We contribute that to our 2-semester legal writing requirement, where you really learn how to analyze cases and express your thoughts the way the United States lawyers do, which is different, believe me. So you learn how to write, and there is an essay part in the bar exam, so that helps. So you do need to prepare. New York just in the last years has added more additional requirements than just passing the bar exam. You need to have pro bono hours, and you need to have a certain skills competency requirement that you need to fulfill before you will be admitted to the bar. And finally, but not least, it's paperwork and documents. There's a 2-step application process, and so on and so on. So that all adds, and it's good to know about that in advance. For many people, this is worth it because that's why they come to the United States to take the bar exam. At Loyola, we do allow students to switch tracks if they come to Chicago and want to take the bar exam, but then we realize they actually don't really need it that much. They would rather like to focus on transactional law or whatever their academic interest is. So they can switch back and forth, but it's good to have a broad idea. Just lastly, some students decide to transition to the JD program after the LLM program simply because they realize they really want to stay in the United States, which requires, of course, a work permit or a green card, and have a more thorough preparation. And they also then can take the bar exam in the state where they want to practice. So at Loyola, you can do that after the LLM program, and you add 2 more years in the JD program. And then you have 2 degrees after 3 years. So again, I invite you to join me in my Zoom room or contact us directly to set up a private meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Insa. So last but not least, we have Laura. Laura, are you there? There you go.
I'm here.
Thank you. Okay. So, okay. So, yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm Laura Cockle from the University of Georgia School of Law. We're known as UGA for University of Georgia. And just to give you a brief introduction to our program, we're a small LLM program with a flexible curriculum. We always have a very diverse student body, though, from all over the world. And we've had our program for a very long time. We offer US law and international law. We have an international law center at the law school with lots of international law programming. Many of our students do the US bar preparation track. And we offer a lot of practical training, coursework, mentoring, and professional development. I just want to tell you about 2 things that we have. One was one that my colleague Insa Blanca just mentioned. We have an LLM to JD transfer program where you can do both degrees in 3 years, and that's without taking the law school admission test. And we have a dual LLM MBA. And some of the things that make our law school outstanding are that it's wonderful to live in Georgia. You can see where we're located on the map below on the east coast of the United States near Atlanta. And we have a good deal of scholarship funding, and I'd be happy to chat with everyone in the Zoom room afterwards and tell you more about that. So what I was talking about today is the differences among states with the bar exams. And of course, I can't go into enormous detail about the specific differences, but I want to give you an idea of how you can find information about those differences. The first place to go to find bar admission information is the National Council of Bar Examiners website, and I have the URL up here. When you go to this website, you will be able to search by jurisdiction. So you can put in a state like Georgia, and it will tell you whether foreign lawyers are eligible to apply to take the bar exam. And you can get specific information about each jurisdiction and what their requirements are for the bar exam. They publish a bar admission guide every year. And if you go to that bar admission guide, it will tell you specifically for each state what foreign lawyers need to do to be eligible to apply to take the bar exam there, or whether they don't take foreign lawyers. So I'll get into that in a moment in a little more detail. But of course, the LLM administrator at your law school will be able to give you a lot of information because they have a lot of experience with LLM students who want to take bar exams. And usually they can help facilitate the process if you run into trouble and help you get your questions answered. It can be a very complex process. One thing to note is that your LLM degree does not need to be in the state where you want to take a bar exam. So for example, we're in Georgia, but many of our LLM students take the New York bar exam or the California bar exam, although the LLMs who are licensed attorneys in their home country can also take the Georgia bar exam. So some things that you should note when you're looking at different programs are different deadlines and fees. These will not be the same across the United States. And some jurisdictions have had an online exam this year. We don't know exactly what the future is going to look like, whether any will continue to have online exams or not. And you need to plan ahead by understanding exactly what the requirements are in the jurisdiction where you would like to take the bar exam. And do note that when you take a US bar exam in a state, there are other requirements to be admitted to the bar, but even if you're admitted to the bar, you are licensed in that state only. So you cannot be licensed in Georgia and then practice law in Florida, for example. So some other things to note are the character and fitness evaluation. Some states will have that before the exam and some will have it after the exam. So for example, in Georgia, our students go completely through character and fitness evaluation. So they'll need to provide all kinds of documentation about where they lived, where they've gone to school, their credit, and other matters. They do that whole process before they take the exam, whereas it takes place in New York after the exam. So that's just an example. And I'll get into this again, but there are different curricular requirements. And when you join an LLM program, your advisor in that program should be able to help you navigate that, but all the requirements will be on the bar admission website for the state where you want to take the bar. And I'm just going to move ahead here. So if you look at that bar admission guide, I don't know what this is. If you look at the bar admission guide that the NCBE has, there's a chart on foreign legal education. And these are the types of things that will differ among the states in regard to what you need to do, whether you're eligible or not as a foreign lawyer. So if the graduates of foreign law schools are eligible for admission by examination, which of these things are required? That's what's on the chart. So they'll tell you whether you're required to have a legal education in English common law. If you're coming from Chile, presumably that's not the case. So if a state requires that, you might not be able to take the bar exam in that state. Whether you need additional education at an ABA approved law school, that's often the case. Some of the states are requiring an LLM, but some are not. Whether you need to have practiced law in a foreign jurisdiction or be licensed to practice law, that's a key difference too. So that might qualify you or disqualify you. And there'll be some kind of determination of educational equivalency. That might mean that they're looking at your foreign law degree to see whether it's in some way equivalent to a US law degree. And some states will require that you're already admitted in another US jurisdiction to take their bar exam. So there are quite a few factors, and the best thing to do is to look at the chart if you're considering different states, whether you want to take the bar exam there to find out whether you would be eligible. And if a foreign law school graduate obtains an LLM or other graduate law degree from an ABA approved law school, that's the American Bar Association, which is our accreditation for US law schools, is the graduate eligible to take the bar exam on this basis alone. So some bar exams will allow you, if you have the LLM, to take the bar exam. So
Excuse me, Laura. We are 2 minutes past. I don't know if you have.
that's fine. I'm just about done. I just want to point out that there is something called a universal bar exam that many jurisdictions have adopted. And some of those jurisdictions allow foreign lawyers to take the exam. So I just wanted to point out this map shows which jurisdictions do that. It's a uniformly administered, graded, and scored exam. But each jurisdiction that uses the universal bar exam, for example, New York, will have its own requirements about deciding who can sit for the bar exam or what the educational requirements are. It will make its own character and fitness decisions and set its own policies. So the exam itself is similar, but each jurisdiction will have different requirements. So thank you for your time, and I hope to talk to you a little bit more in the chat room.
Thank you, Laura. Fantastic presentation. Thank you so much for covering so many aspects of the application process. We'll learn a lot about specializations, the application itself, the bar exam, extremely useful information. Laura, I have a favor to ask right now. I think you are a host. So could you please put us a host? Isabel, Zoom is interesting today.
How do I do that? How do I
Isabel, are you there?
How do I make her the host?
Aquí estoy.
There you go.
Todavía no aparece como host.
Okay, so be able to change your status and add somebody as a host, but I'm not sure that it's working out. Isabel no sabe cómo hacerlo donde va, and I cannot see the option, unfortunately. So
En el nombre.
You can make on the name.
Claro, entonces more. Se posiciona en el nombre de la persona que quiere pasar host.
Yeah, so Laura, do you see the 3 dots that are next to your name? So the option should be there.
Ahí aparece la opción more, y al apretar more aparece make host.
So it says stop
the options.
Rename.
You don't have the option of like when it says more?
There.
No?
I can leave if that helps.
I don't know. I think that's actually what Tori, I think that's what she did at the end. And then I think the rights were left to you, Laura. I don't know why, because Isabel should be the one to have the rights as host, and I don't know what happened there. Yeah.
I honestly don't
So
know.
Sophia says if she leaves the Zoom meeting, it will give her the option to leave as a host, and then when you have that option, then you can leave a host and choose Isabel. Could you do that? And maybe you can join again after.
Okay, I see. But I don't see Isabel there. Can I do Claudia?
You can put me or Isabel, and I give it to Isabel if you can. No problem. You have to try to leave,
Claudia,
and it will give you the option.
Claudia, ahora te encuentras tú como host.
Awesome. Okay, let me see. All right, so I need to make Martha co-host as well. And I will, Isabel, I will put you as host right away, okay? Let me find you again. There are many people now in the room. Okay, so co-host. Yes. Okay, so Martha, you're now co-host, and there you go. Now let's see if I can see Isabel in the little screen there. Ah, there you are. Fantastic. Yes. Now, Isabel, now you're host.
Okay.
Okay. We're on. So thank you again, everybody. Great seeing you. And I leave you with Martha for the next sessions.
Okay, well, Thank you very much for joining us. We are about to start the last segment of this wonderful webinar series on LLM programs in the US. And we're a bit behind schedule, so I'm just going to breeze through the introductions. We have Teresa Kaiser-Jarvis from the University of Michigan, Hannah Kuther from the University of Minnesota Law School, Trent Anderson from St. John University School of Law, Kathy Toki from University of Texas at Austin, Felicia Caponigri, University of Notre Dame School of Law, Adriana Aguena, UC Davis School of Law, Elise Lucy Kramer, University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School, and Cynthia Coleman, Vanderbilt Law School. Okay, so they will all be giving you a brief introduction on different topics, and then of course you will have access to the breakout rooms so that you can get more information about their programs. All right, so without further ado, we're going to start with Teresa, right? And I think you can start sharing your screen.
Great, thank you. And thank you so much, Marta, and all of your colleagues at Education USA who have put this together. We really appreciate all your efforts to make this happen. And thank you to all of the prospective students who've joined us today. We hope we're going to try to get through this fast enough so that you have some time for questions. So let's get started. I have a great group of colleagues here today. They've already been introduced, so I'll let them introduce themselves as their part of the presentation comes forward. We're going to be talking about the things you should consider when you're thinking about an LLM program, and then some of the details about applying. So let me start with these general considerations about what you want to know about an LLM program. So the first thing to know is there are 200 accredited law schools in the United States. Of those 200 law schools, 164 of them offer an LLM program, and many of them offer more than one LLM program. So the point here is there are a lot of LLM programs to choose from. And on the next slide, you'll see that the duty to you is to do a lot of research, because the things that we normally look to help us, to give us information about what is a good LLM program, don't really apply. So the American Bar Association does not create any standards about what an LLM program has to have. They leave it to the law schools to decide that. When you look at rankings, US News and World Report is really only looking at JD programs. There is very, very little of any LLM program data or statistic that would come into those rankings. So again, my point is that your first step in finding an LLM program is to do a lot of research. You cannot rely on sort of external larger level indicators of quality. There's a huge amount of variety among schools, and you need to find the right fit. So I think the variety is a great thing, actually. So let's talk about the things you might think about as you're trying to find the right fit. I'm going to recommend you think through 5 questions. One is, where do you want to study? One is, who do you want to study with? What kind of academic experience do you want? Can you afford it, and is it worth it? And I'm going to just touch briefly on each of those questions, but again, I'm going to fly through these pretty quickly. So who do you want to study, or sorry, where do you want to study? Remember, you're thinking about where you want to be a student, not where you want to be a tourist, not where you want to be on vacation. This is where you're going to be studying. So there's no right or wrong answer here, but you need to take time and think about it yourself. Are you a better student in a big city, in a college town? Are you a better student where there are a lot of things happening around outside of the academic environment? Or are you a person who prefers to be able to focus more on just what's going on within the law school? There are a lot of different components to this question, but I think you get the idea. Put yourself in your student shoes and try to think about where would you get the most out of this one academic year, what type of environment. Next question is, who do you want to study with? So again, these programs really vary. Some are quite small, some are quite large. Are you somebody who prefers to be noticed and known? Or are you somebody who prefers to be one of hundreds of students where you can sort of just kind of fade in and do your own thing and pop up when you want? Nothing wrong with either of those, but just think about that. Are you someone who likes to be surrounded by people from your own country? So think about the diversity in the program. If you are attending a program where there are lots of people from your same country, for some people that's a great thing, and they prefer to be able to communicate in their native language outside of the classroom. Other people want to be really made a little uncomfortable in that environment and be pushed to interact more in English that way. And speaking of English, one thing to consider is on the admission standards, the one piece I'm going to pull out there is the Toefl score. So we offer all of us law schools have very different standards on what's required in the Toefl score. More or less, it can range from an 80 to a 100. There's a big difference between an 80 and a 100. So if you are someone who's scoring in the 80 range, I would suggest looking for a school that's got students around that range, right? It's going to be just a better experience for you to be with people who are the same language of English skills as you are. The next question is, what kind of academic experience do you want? So do you want to be in class with the JD students, and do you want to be graded against the JD students? Do you want to have a lot of options on the types of courses you can take, or would you like to have it a little more prescribed for you? Do you want to be able to take classes outside of the law school? Do you care about an interdisciplinary approach to the law, or you prefer just to really focus on the law, on the law school courses? So those are just some of the things to think about in that regard. And then the next question is, can you afford it? I know that's one that's on everyone's mind, right? Scholarships are certainly available from many of US law schools. So my advice always is to apply to the school that seems to suit you best, but then wait and see what the scholarship offer is. But other things to consider in addition to that are there work opportunities on campus for you? You're unlikely to make a lot of money working on campus, but a little bit can help. It can cover your cost of food and that kind of thing. But one of the big factors is thinking about the cost of living. It does vary significantly across the United States in different places. So whether you're having to pay for transportation to get around, to get to class and back, what size of apartment you can have, the cost of food, all of those things are factors that will make your year a lot more expensive or less expensive. So don't forget to look into that question. And then the last question is it worth it? And again, everyone comes to their LLM program for different reasons. So only you can answer this question, but I encourage you to do your research on the schools that you're interested in to find the best fit. So for example, if you're somebody who's thinking you want to take a bar exam after you graduate, are there other students in the LLM program you're interested in who will also be taking the bar exam? And what's the pass rate of those students taking the bar exam, right? What type of career opportunities are the LLM students in the program you're interested in getting? Are they career opportunities that you're also interested in? Are they going to public interest work, law firms in the US, around the world? And how does that fit with what you want? And then the last piece that I'll mention is the alumni of the law school. How enthusiastic are they? How likely are they to be able to be supportive of future generations of students from that school who follow them? So alumni can be a great resource. They will be the people who are in your network, your personal and professional network for the rest of your life. So that's something you should look into carefully to see if the alumni network is one that suits your interests and will serve you well. That's all I have. So I will turn it over to my colleague from Minnesota, Hannah.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Hannah Keeter. I'm the Assistant Director of International Programs at the University of Minnesota Law School. We've got 3 LLM programs, a wonderful program. I will get right into the content here. You can ask me all sorts of questions about Minnesota in the Zoom room after this. So if you've decided that you do want to join an LLM program and earn that degree and join a group like our lovely LLM students from last year that I have pictured here, there are 2 ways to apply. LSAC, the Law School Admission Council, or you can apply directly to law schools. A few things to keep in mind as you're doing that are time, of course. It can take some time to obtain all the materials, request the official transcripts, mail it if that's what you want to do. Accessibility, do you have reliable internet? If you're going to upload all these documents to the LSAC online portal, will it take a long time to mail things from the country where you are? And then cost, of course. I'll go into costs for LSAC here in a moment. It can add up quite quickly, but so can postage, so can applying or requesting different transcripts for different schools needing several copies of the same thing. So 3 things that I ask students to keep in mind as they're considering how to apply. LSAC is required, or at least strongly recommended, by almost all law schools in the United States for all of their law school programs. They are the official online application portal for law schools in the US. They have a whole team of people dedicated to evaluating and authenticating documents from other countries. They are experts at the grading systems, at the organizational structure all over the world, so we don't have to. Most of us are admissions professionals and student service people and academic advisors, and so it gives us some flexibility in our job so they can focus on that and we can focus on providing a great experience for you while you're in the US. It's very simple. You upload or submit everything to LSAC once, and then click in the boxes which law schools you want everything sent electronically to. Very straightforward. As I mentioned, it might cost a little bit more than applying directly, but it is very convenient for you and for the law schools. So again, the costs can add up, but they're pretty straightforward. To do the online application, just to create your account essentially is the one-time fee of $35. For them to compile everything, again, just a one-time fee. For them to authenticate and evaluate your transcripts is another one-time fee, which is probably the most expensive one. The law school reports are just $30, and then each law school has a different application fee. If you attend webinars like this one, make sure that you ask the representative in their Zoom room if you can get an application fee waiver. Attendance at events like this shows that you're a motivated, interested student, and they often want to encourage you to apply then. The other option, of course, is to apply directly. Most of us on our websites have some sort of PDF or Word document you can download and complete. You then are responsible for requesting and obtaining copies of things like transcripts, letters of recommendation, etc. for each school, putting them all together in one package and mailing it directly to the law school. With the dates, as I mentioned with mail service, that can be a little bit inconsistent depending on where you are and what time of year it is. So make sure you're very clear with the schools to which you're applying. Is the deadline the date that they need it all in their possession, or is it the date that needs to be stamped, postmarked on your materials to get in the mail? Again, this might cost less, but it also takes more time then for the schools to review everything. Generally, I always recommend students apply at least a month, at least 4 weeks, if not more, before the official application deadline, just to make sure no matter what happens, you will have your materials in, they will be able to review it in plenty of time. And I think that's it. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Adriana to talk more about the specific pieces that go into the applications.
Perfect. Thank you, Hannah. Hola, amigos. Buenos dias to me. Buenas tardes for you guys. Amigos de Pontifícia Católica Universidad de Chile. Mi nombre es Adriana. I am here representing the University of Davis School of Law here in beautiful California. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for attending. I know that you're doing your homework, and it's a good way to start researching about LLM programs in the United States. Now, I do want, before I go ahead and start on my slides, I want to say that UC Davis has a long-standing relationship with Universidad de Chile, as well as with the Pontifícia Católica Universidad, with many faculty, student exchange activities, and we also have the Chilean government research in Chile. So I will be sending you guys my email information as well as participating in the live chat, so you can ask me questions, more specific questions about our alumni, our students and alumni, people that are in the United States are also in Chile, so you can connect with them and do your research and learn more about our programs and how it is to study in the United States. Anyways, talking about UC Davis School of Law, we have a number of LLM programs for you. What I want to emphasize is that you customize your program. What does that mean? We are going to design, we are going to tailor a specific program according to your needs. That means that you can do a general LLM, or you can specialize in a certain area of law. We have options, 1 or 2 years, depending on your time and flexibility. And you can either start in August, which is our fall program, or in the spring, which is our spring program, which is in January. So there's flexibility depending on your needs. Let us know how we can assist you. We also have preparation for the bar exam if that's what you want to do with your LLM, which is the next step if you decide to become an attorney in California. So there's a lot of good information. I also speak Spanish. If you have any specific questions and you don't know exactly how it is in English, I'm happy to assist you with general questions as well as specific questions about UC Davis School of Law. Now, let's talk about what is it that you need in order to apply for the LLM programs. So here are the lists of documents that you're going to need to be able to apply for most of law schools in the United States. I want to bring to your attention that the sooner the better. Go and get all the transcripts of all the universities that you have attended. It is important because those documents are official documents that tell us your history and what classes you have taken, because the admission officers are going to be analyzing, checking your GPA, not GPAs, but checking your information as to what classes you have taken to best assist you and to also give you the accurate advice so you can move forward with our application. There are also the English language requirement. I know our colleagues are going to be talking about it. Different aspects of it. Statement of purpose. What is the reason why you want to do your LLM? That's actually a very important question that you should ask yourself. What is the reason? What can you do with your LLM program after you graduate? Letters of recommendation from different people or employers or professors that you can start working on it right now. Resume or your curriculum vitae. It is important because, again, tell us your story, who you are, what you've done, where you have been, and obviously the application itself. Let's move on to the next slide. And just, again, every school is different, right? Some schools may ask you to complete essay questions to tell you, them more about you, and they perhaps have some specific questions about your interest in that specific program. Other schools may schedule a Zoom or in-person if you wear mask and social distance, or Zoom or Skype or even by phone interviews. Again, they want to know who you are. They want to make sure not only that you have all the requirements, but they understand what your needs are. Because it's all about customization. It's about to understand how they can help you, they can assist you so you can achieve your professional goal. And most LLM programs do not require the LSAT, which is the Law School Admission Test. That's a very important point because you do not have to take those exams like the LSAT, GRE, and GMAT for the application of LLM program. Next, let's talk a little briefly because there will be other colleagues talking more about this transcripts. So let's talk about the transcripts. Again, as I said, they are official documents from the universities that you have attended. Now, you may ask me, hey, what if I can't have these documents right away? That's fine. Some of schools are willing to work with you in a sense that you can submit unofficial transcripts until you get the official transcripts from the university. Sometimes there is a delay or whatever it is that's happening in the university that they're unable to issue the official transcript. So do not stop yourself from applying, from asking those questions, because the university may accept the unofficial transcripts for the time being while the application is being processed. And once you have the transcripts that are official, then you can submit them later on. All right, moving on here with the next documents. So again, when you're talking about other documents that are not in English, so in Spanish or Portuguese, or however that might be, it needs to be accompanied by a certified English translation. So for example, at UC Davis, we do require that you submit translation in English. Now, if you do have specific questions, I'm happy to assist you where to find in Chile, where you can go and have that service done for you. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. The other option is through the Lsac, as our friend Hannah has just talked to you about. And again, we are happy to assist you with more details on that. And as I said, it's important to ask the university that you're applying for whether they will accept an official transcript, so you can move on with the application process. Now,
Diana, sorry to interrupt. You have about 1 minute left.
Okay, dokie. All right, my friends. So very important here. We do not request, most of the LLM programs do not request the GPA. So that means you don't have to worry about calculating the average point that you have throughout your program. So don't do that. Let us, the experts, to help you with that process. Moving on here, my friends, thank you. So general tips, communication is key. Please check your emails, reach out to our admissions officers. They are there to help you, to assist you. Let us help you. So that way you can have accurate information and we can assist you moving forward with your application process. So also it's important to pay attention on application dates. Some schools don't have a specific deadline, but other schools do have. So make sure that you are aware when the dates are and when you're supposed to submit your application. And lastly, I think it's my last, yes, reply, reach out, be aware that we're going to be communicating with you on a daily basis. That way, if there's any documents that we need from you in order to complete your application, we are going to be reaching out to you. So please always check your email, communicate, ask questions. There is no silly questions. Please let us know how to assist you. Now, just to finalize, I will be posting in the chat box my email and the link so you can chat with me afterwards, so we can communicate and help you with whatever questions that you might have. Thank you, my friends. Muchas gracias y nos vemos.
Okay, so now next we have Vanderbilt University.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Coleman. I'm Director of LLM Admissions at Vanderbilt Law School, which is located on the beautiful campus of Vanderbilt University in the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. We have a general LLM and an LLM in law and business, and please join my chat room if you'd like to hear more about Vanderbilt. And now I'll tell you a little about the standard test of English proficiency, which most law schools will require. Most law schools accept the Toefl score or the Ielts. It's your responsibility to identify the tests that the schools you're applying to accept. And as my colleagues said earlier, each school has different required minimal scores on these tests. So if you don't see it on the website, feel free to contact the admissions officers from the school. Here's the website for the Toefl, it's my understanding that some schools during the pandemic will accept the Toefl Home Edition. Hello?
You're fine, Cynthia, we hear you.
Okay, I don't know what happened. My screen went completely blank. So I'm having some technology issues. If you want to just show the slides and people can ask questions if they have any.
Sure. So we're showing the slides about the Toefl exam.
Yeah, if you don't, I have no idea why I have a completely black screen. So yeah, if you can just scroll through the my part, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory. And if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box or visit our Zoom room.
Sure. So there's the TOEFL Internet Edition, the TOEFL Special Home Edition, which not every law school accepts. As with everything, make sure you check with the school you're applying to. There's also Ielts, which is less commonly accepted, but still most law schools will accept that. Duolingo is a new one this year. Some schools are accepting it, most are not. Some are only accepting it in certain circumstances or just for a short period of time. There's the website for that. And then I think, Felicia, you're next.
Hannah, thank you so much, especially for all your organization. It's wonderful. Thank you. It's so nice to meet all of you, my colleagues, on this webinar, and all of you listening. Encantada. Nice to meet you. So I'm Dr. Felicia Capinagram, the Acting Director of International and Graduate Programs at the Law School. Hannah, could you just go back real quick to this previous slide? Thank you. Here you see at Notre Dame one of the things we're known for, our beautiful Golden Dome on our gorgeous campus. Our law school is over 150 years old, and our university was founded in 1842. So you may know us also for football and for Touchdown Jesus. I didn't share a photo of that, but I urge all of you on the call to research our beautiful campus on our website and see more than the Golden Dome too. Thanks so much, Hannah. The next slide is perfect. So at Notre Dame, we offer 2 LLMs. We have our LLM at Notre Dame, which allows you to specialize in an area of your interest following our extensive programs of study at the law school. And we have our renowned LLM in International Human Rights Law, which grows out of, as some of you may know, of Father Ted Hesburgh and his work on the Civil Rights Commission in the United States. So that program has a long history at the law school, also tied to our mission. At Notre Dame, just to give you a little insight into the graduate programs, we have a small class size and ratio, really, that allows for the local and global elements. So we have a small cohort of LLMs each year, usually no more than 30, who take classes both with their cohort and alongside other JD students. A lot of faculty support, some required courses, really integrated with the JD students, as I said. So it's a great, I have to say, environment to be in. And that goes to my next slide. Which is that, of course, at Notre Dame, we are part of a much larger network of different kinds of lawyers. We like to call ourselves that. In fact, our mission is to educate a different kind of lawyer. Obviously, we're a law school at the heart of an eminent Catholic university. And so we really believe that the law is a service to others. And so you can see many of our alumni around the world bringing that different kind of lawyer to the world and for the world. We've educated over 500 graduates of our LLM programs. And as you can see, we have alumni throughout the world that you could connect with. And so on that note, last slide, thanks, Hannah. The personal statement as part of your LLM application is really an opportunity for you. As part of our global network, Notre Dame is also connected to the Pontifical Catholic University in Santiago. And so we regularly welcome exchange students from PUC. And the personal statement is really an opportunity to showcase to the committee what it is that you bring as a student from Chile so much, right? Such a great international perspective to our law school community. So it's an opportunity for you to highlight those exceptional grades, years in practice, if you've practiced in Chile, and other information on your resume. It's also an opportunity to give more context and explain any anomalies or unique facets of your resume or educational history. So perhaps you'd like to explain why your TOEFL score is a little lower, or why you felt challenged in a particular course that you took during your law degree in the civil law system, or a period of employment that you feel particularly lends itself to Notre Dame or to the other law school of your choice. And especially why, right? Why are you interested in pursuing an LLM? Why a specific concentration, for example? So why international human rights law to take a Notre Dame-centric perspective? Why this law school? It's important also to be aware of additional essays that a law school may require. So at Notre Dame, as I said, we see the law very much as a service to others that is very inclusive and welcoming of all different types of faiths and beliefs, but really seeing the law as a service, right? We feel called to serve the community through law. And so we require an essay that addresses your interests in Notre Dame in relation to our mission and what it means for you to be a different kind of lawyer in the world. So that's some things to keep in mind, and I'm happy to answer any other specific questions you may have about Notre Dame. in the Zoom room afterwards. So thank you so much, Hannah and everyone, and on to Texas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carly Tepke. I'm the Assistant Director at the University of Texas School of Law in the beautiful Austin, Texas. And I'm really excited today to tell you all about our programs. So first off, you can see that we have 6 different concentrations ranging from energy to human rights law. And all of those concentrations at the University of Texas allow you to become eligible for the bar exam. So I know that is really important to everyone. And although, we do have a lot of other ranked specialities you can see on the screen outside of our concentration that we're really proud of as well. All of our concentrations are really flexible, which I think is really important. So you can kind of mix and match classes depending on what you want to do, what your goals are. We also have a lot of experiential opportunities for our students, including clinics, law journals, and lots of different student organizations. We highly recommend that our LLMs get involved in this because our class is really small. We have a maximum of 50 students, and our students are integrated in the JD classes. Joining these outside experiences really helps you get more involved in the school, network more, and make more of the program overall. So we've talked a lot today about how to make your application strong, how to set yourself apart. The big thing is you really want to differentiate yourself from others and show the admissions committee who you are. And today in this program, I'm going to be focusing on the letters of recommendation. So some overall tips for letters of recommendation among the rest of your application. You want to highlight your strengths, be professional, proofread very carefully because typos show that you're not taking time, show that maybe you don't care about it. Even if you do not assume that every school wants the same thing. I know we've heard that a lot today. You have to do your research. Be sure to be original and not use templates. Admissions officers read hundreds and hundreds of applications, and it's really obvious when an applicant has taken something off the internet that is just a real kind of template. You want it to highlight yourself and be original. So for the letters of recommendation, why the law schools, the admissions committee want to see those is because they give a deeper insight from an outside perspective as to who you are, and they act as supporting evidence for your application. So in your application, in your CV, in your personal statement, you've written all these great things about you, but the letters of recommendation, they confirm that from an outside perspective. And it's also, these letters are a look into how you're going to perform as a student in the LLM program based on your past experience as a student. Most schools require about 2 to 3 letters of recommendation for your application. Some tips, some general tips about your letters of rec. You want to diversify your letters of recommendation. Have a mix of both academic, so some professors that you might have been really close with, maybe you did some research for them or got a good grade in their class, and also professional. So if you have an internship supervisor or a supervisor at a law firm, or if you've done some volunteer work, someone who supervised there, but someone who knows your work product and knows you as a person, not just as a family friend. So those family friend recommendations are personal recommendations, but for your LLM, it's both an academic and it's a professional degree. So you want to focus on recommenders that can speak to those parts of you. Your recommendations should also talk about how you've grown or progressed over the year. If there's something in your application, maybe you struggled during 1 year of law school, your recommender can talk about, yes, they did struggle. However, look at how much they've grown after this. So it really highlights that growth. And also you want your recommendations to include details, not just be general or vague, saying, oh yeah, they were a very nice person. The admissions committees want to know more about you. And also when you're asking for letters of recommendation, make sure that your recommenders will write a positive letter. You want to approach that beforehand to make sure that it will be positive and that they can, really write that glowing recommendation for you, not just a vague or general one. So if you never talked to a professor, you were quiet throughout the class, you never went to office hours, you only got a mediocre grade, maybe they're not the best person to ask for a recommendation because it's not going to be an incredibly positive, detailed recommendation. And finally, how to ask for letters of recommendation from the recommenders, which can be a little awkward, but make sure that you ask early and be very specific about the due dates. Many professors get asked for lots and lots of letters of recommendation, so they need to know exactly when they're due. What I recommend is to provide work samples. So if you want to kind of refresh the memory of your professor or your supervisor about the work that you did that was so great. So if it was a great paper you wrote or an article you published, or maybe a good brief you wrote in your law firm, remind them that what you worked on and how great it was. Yes, definitely you want to diversify your recommenders. If, for example, after law school, you went to get an economics master's degree, you would not want to ask 3 professors from your economics degree. Instead, maybe 1 from your law school, 1 from your economics degree, and 1 supervisor from a law firm. So the admissions committee can really see a well-rounded version of you. For a lot of recommenders, they might not have ever written a letter of recommendation for a US law school. So it would be helpful if you explain what traits or skills law schools are looking for to make sure that the recommender highlights those. And also what's very helpful is if you provide a specific list of talking points that you hope they would address. Of course, it is up to the recommender to write the letter and they will decide what they will include, but you can always ask them, ask them about the different things that you would hope that they would include. Normally, you have your letter writers, your recommenders, write 1 general letter of recommendation that you can submit to multiple schools. Of course, if you end up, if you are, for example, you'd like to come to Texas Law, and you know an alumni from Texas Law and you want them to write a letter specifically for my program, you can do that as well and have it written specifically. But most of the time, people just have a general letter of recommendation written. So finally, if you're interested in joining us, if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us either email, social media, or via Zoom. Look forward to talking to you more.
Okay, next up we have University of Pennsylvania.
Hello, I'm really delighted to be here with all of you today. I'm going to endeavor to be particularly brief looking at the time, but I will be available in the Zoom room if you have specific questions about our program or anything else. So we have a general customizable LLM. It's incredibly flexible, and after our summer program, which I'll mention in a moment, all classes are with JDs and there are no specific requirements. We tend to have about 115 students from typically 30+ countries. It's pretty competitive. Last year we received over 1,500 applications, but our thinking about admissions and pretty much about everything is very custom and individual. So don't assume that you're not a good candidate. We are located in Philadelphia, which is the 5th or 6th largest city in the US. And it's about 1 to 2 hours south of New York, depending on how much you want to pay for transportation, 2 or 3 hours. So we're south of New York and north of DC. DC is a little further, 2 or 3 hours. We're on the beautiful University of Pennsylvania campus, one of the Ivy Leagues. Behind me, you can see the pretty foliage, and it's right next to the downtown. Actually, many of our students live in the downtown. As I mentioned, we have a fairly unique 5-week, 5-credit summer or pre-term program. All our LM students are required to do that, and that is where they complete all of the required classes, which prepare them to be successful alongside JDs throughout the following 2 semesters. We also do a lot of social and extracurricular activities, allowing the class to become quite close with one another during that time. Our alums often say that that was a really important time for them to get to know each other. We also have a fairly unique opportunity for the LLMs to take do the Wharton Business and Law Certificate. Wharton is also on the same campus, short walk away, and there are classes at night that you can take alongside your LLM degree. All LLM students are eligible for the certificate, and I have the information about the website there, and I'll put up in the chat our Zoom room. So let me move on to our topic, work experience. So when is it the right time to apply? And that, of course, is a question that you'll have to decide. I'll just mention a few things you might want to think about. So what are your professional goals? So if, for example, you know you want to be an academic, perhaps it makes sense to go straight through. Or there is another reason that it would make sense for you to do that. Again, it's going to be the financing, which is a big question for everyone. And that could depend. It may be that you want to take some time to earn some money to help finance it. You may be able to work with a law firm or another business or government agency that might be interested in sponsoring you or providing a low interest or no interest loan. Or if you're very academically inclined, maybe this is the right time to get that academic scholarship. And then personal circumstances. I've heard students say, it's a lot easier to get away for a year to do an LLM when you're younger, before you have responsibilities with children, with family, with work. So that's something to think about. Also, the strength of your application and sort of how competitive a program you want to go to. So some of the more competitive programs do require, or strong, or any program, to be honest, require or will really see experience as a big plus in your application. So looking at how your academic performance has been. Have you really been a stellar student? And this is, you feel really strong about the strength of your application, and this is a great time to apply. Or perhaps you're someone who your academics you don't think, or your academic grades don't necessarily reflect how strong an applicant you could be. Perhaps then, several years of work will allow you to demonstrate that you really are an excellent candidate. And of course, there may be other considerations, but let's just move on to the next slide. So assuming you want to apply kind of on the early side, here's some thoughts about how to make that application as strong as possible. In Chile, many students are able to get and spend a lot of time doing internships alongside with their studies. So be sure to highlight those experiences, whether they're part-time, during breaks, paid or unpaid, to show that you have had experience, even if it hasn't been a full-time job post-graduation. And be sure to make one of your, adding or piggybacking on some of the advice from my colleague about letters of recommendation, make sure that you have a recommender who can speak strongly to your professional attributes, not just your academic. How are you in a work setting? It gets into kind of maturity and things like that. And again, also building on the words of wisdom you've already had from your personal statement, make sure your personal statement comes off as really mature and thoughtful, and perhaps highlights some of the things that show that you are, that although maybe you're just graduating from law school, that you really are truly ready to be successful and to be a strong contributor to an LLM program. With that, I am going to toss the virtual baton to my colleague at St. John's. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I am Trent Anderson, Associate Dean at St. John's University School of Law in New York City. I am going to spend a couple of minutes and talk about bar exam considerations. And I'll do it in the context of our degree programs at St. John's. So the first thing you need to consider is, what is your goal in obtaining a US LLM? Do you want to go back one, Hannah, sorry about that. Do you want to return to your home country, having gained the experience of getting the LLM in the US? Do you want to get your LLM degree, take a bar exam, and then return back to your home country? Or do you want to take a bar exam and then gain employment in the US? And what I will tell you about the bar exam, the single best predictor of whether or not you will pass the bar exam is English language proficiency. And so in evaluating programs, you need to determine which of those three things you're looking for in obtaining the LLM. So we have a US legal studies, which prepares in a year a foreign trained attorney to take the New York bar exam. Transnational legal practice is a set of programs for those attorneys who aren't going to necessarily take the bar exam, but return back to their home country to work. We do a dual TLP USLS degree for those people who want to return to their home country, but having passed the New York bar exam. And then for those students who are most interested in being employed in the US, we have a 3-year LLM to JD program where you obtain both degrees, and your scholarship from the LLM program transports into the JD. You can participate in that program without taking the LSAT. Finally, our last program is in insolvency and structured reorganization bankruptcy. That's a very specific program, but we have good success. In considering what programs around the country you're looking for, take into account opportunities for CPT, so co-curricular practical training, OPT, optional practical training after you obtain your degree, because you'll want to be in a market that you want to work in. We can go to the next slide, Hannah, thank you. Every jurisdiction in the US and territory has a different set of requirements for the bar exam. I'm going to touch briefly on New York's. The thing you need to keep in mind is even though there's a universal bar exam right now, that doesn't allow you to just practice in any one of the jurisdictions that accepts that exam. Every single jurisdiction has a lot of nuance that you need to learn about very quickly. Let's go to the next one. So considerations, you want to practice in the US, I talked about this. When will your English be strong enough? It can be expensive and it takes time. I'm going to skip to the next slide. Here we go. Let's just use New York as an example. In order to take the New York bar exam and be qualified as an attorney in New York, you must obtain an LLM. 24 credits, minimum GPA, very specific course requirements. So in evaluating your LLM, if you want to go to University of Texas, which is a fantastic school, or Penn, or Minnesota, et cetera, just make sure that if you want to practice in New York, you're working with the people at those schools to structure your LLM so that you comply with the jurisdiction where you want to practice law. In New York, we also have what's called an advanced evaluation of eligibility. This means that the Board of Law Examiners in New York look at your LLB or your first law degree to make sure that it is sufficiently rigorous in law, that with the LLM, you're going to qualify for the test. You have to take something called the multi-state professional responsibility exam, a New York specific law exam. And we have in New York a requirement for pro bono work in order to be sworn into the bar exam. So make sure, once again, that as you're working with Michigan or whatever the program is that you're interested in, that you're doing all of these things in preparation for that bar exam. And then finally, we have a character and fitness review. And the school that you attend is going to be able to work with you on whether or not there are any issues that could interfere with your ability to be sworn in. And finally, there is a unique opportunity right now in New York. Typically, LLM students cannot take their coursework online and have it qualify to sit for the bar exam. The Court of Appeals in New York has waived that for spring semester 21. So for any of you who really want to get started, you could actually start one of our programs this spring online, and then come in person to our campuses next fall and complete your degree and qualify for the bar exam. We fully anticipate starting in fall 21 that those waivers are going to sunset and you will no longer be able to do online work in an LLM program and have it qualify for the bar exam. And Oh, this is us. So we are in New York City, but we're right next to the ocean. The man in the pink shirt behind the logo is our dean, Dean Michael Simons. This was a subset of one of our classes. Typically, we have about 50 or 60 LLM students in the building at any one time, and they take classes with GADs. I'm going to put my email address and Zoom link in the chat, and if anyone has questions, not just about St. John's, but about the bar, because I went through it quickly, I'm happy to respond. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Okay, wow, well, that was a marathon run through the LLM programs. Thank you all so much for the valuable information that you provided us. I hope that the students here have had some time to process the information and decided which of the breakout rooms they want to visit now. I know a lot of you have put your breakout rooms in the chat, but there's also, the students have received an email with the links to the breakout rooms as well. So I want to thank all of you for joining us today and sharing all of this wonderful information. We hope that lots of students will visit you in the breakout rooms. Y Isabel, no sé si quieres decir algo de despedida.
Yo no, Javiera Ortúzar, que es la coordinadora de redes. Javi.
We actually managed to come in a couple of minutes under, under the limit. So that was pretty impressive. Is that? So the students, if you have any general questions in the meantime.
No contesto.
Conectada. Okay. So maybe those of you who are still here, if you have any specific programs for international or services, like special services for international students that you could tell us about while we wait.
I would just add, Martha, one thing I forgot to share with students that might be interesting is to know that Notre Dame actually has a Santiago Global Center in Santiago, Chile. And so if you have any specific questions that you're interested in knowing from the perspective of someone in Chile who perhaps has participated in the legal education system there, Felipe Gomez, who is actually from our Santiago Global Center, will also be in our Zoom room. And of course, he's a resource. So again, just another facet of the local and global at Notre Dame. But one thing I forgot to mention that might be of interest to students.
Yeah, and I just, as an advisor, I know in general, reaching out to alumni is a wonderful way to get a feel for what the experience will be like. So I found that most admissions offices are open to, if you reach out to them and ask if there are any Chilean alumni, they will help you sort of make that connection. So please feel free to reach out to admissions officers. And as you've seen here, they're all very friendly and really sweet. So please don't be scared to contact the admissions offices at universities. Ahora sí, estamos listas.
Gracias, Claudia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Gracias, Miguel. For us, has been really a good activity this for our alumni. This is the 5th Feria LLM that we are doing. We start by only the Derecho to Send, then we continue with Education USA. I think already this is the 3rd time we do it with Education USA. And our students and alumni, they are really looking forward to know about how the admissions and all the subjects that you talked today. So thank you a lot to all the law schools and to Education USA.
Okay. So thank you once again, and I think now we can just go to the breakout rooms. Muchas gracias a todos los participantes por estar acá hoy.
Muchas gracias.
Thank
Gracias a
you,
todos.
for the organization. Muchas gracias.
Everyone.
Gracias, Marta. Gracias, Hannah.
Gracias. Gracias a todos. Gracias, Isa.